When one of my sons was about 9 years old, I took him and his siblings to the store so they could do their Christmas shopping for their mom. Because of their age at the time, I had already given each of them some money before we left home. As we got out of the vehicle and started across the parking lot, I asked, "Does everyone have their money?" And my son answered, "I don't." I said, "Well, how are you going to buy your mom a Christmas present?" And without missing a beat, he said, "I'm just going to put my name on yours." We had a conversation about generosity that day. He's grown now, and I'm glad to say that he has become a generous man, and that pleases me. And yes, sometimes I am the recipient of his generosity, but that isn't primarily why it pleases me. His generosity tells me something about him. That helps me understand something Paul says near the end of the book of Philippians. The Philippians had sent Paul a gift while he was imprisoned, and he was genuinely grateful for it. He needed it. He was doing without some things. But then he says something interesting in verse 17. Not that I seek the gift itself, but I seek for the profit which increases to your account. Paul appreciated the gift, but he says in effect, the gift itself is not what I'm most excited about. He's excited about what their giving says about them. Their generosity is fruit. It's evidence that the grace of God is at work in these people. And that fits the whole relationship Paul has described with this church. They had supported him before. They had shared with him in his affliction. They had participated with him in the work of the gospel. And now they've done it again. Paul could look at their generosity and see spiritual fruit growing in people he loved. That's why he says he seeks the profit which increases to your account. He isn't teaching that we can purchase favor with God. The Philippians are not buying spiritual blessings by giving Paul money. Paul has spent this whole letter pointing them away from confidence in what they do and toward confidence in Christ. Their generosity does not earn grace. It's the fruit of grace. And that distinction is so important. A generous Christian is not trying to get God to be gracious by giving. A generous Christian becomes that because God has already been gracious. And that's why generosity can reveal something about us. What we do with what God has given us says something about what we value. It says something about what we trust. It says something about whether we see our possessions primarily as something to protect for ourselves or something God has entrusted to us that can be used for the good of others and the advance of the gospel. Paul received the Philippians' gift, but his joy went beyond what arrived in his hands. He could see what God was producing in their hearts. I think I understand that a little bit better now than I did standing in that parking lot with a 9-year-old boy who planned to put his name on my Christmas present. Today, when I see generosity in that same son, I'm pleased. Not mainly because of what I might receive from him and his generosity. I'm pleased because of what his generosity says about the man he has become. And Paul looked at the Philippians in much the same way. He was grateful for their gift, but he was even more grateful for the fruit that he saw because of the gift.